And thank you for joining us. My name is Hal Turner. I'm I'm the director of customer support here at Acrobatiq. Um, I'm going to walk you through the Introduction to Psychology Intelligent Courseware today. And we're going to do about 15 minutes of running through um, the webinar itself, and then maybe 15 minutes of Q&A. And that'll be in the form of questions that I'd like you to please put into the question field in the GoToWebinar module you see on your screen. So we'll talk about what Acrobatiq is. We'll talk about Acrobatiq's approach to intelligent courseware, the psychology course in particular, and then the Q&A session afterward. So Acrobatiq, let's talk about what Acrobatiq is. Acrobatiq is it's a brand new company. We are a spin out of Carnegie Mellon University's Open Learning Initiative. We are wholly owned by Carnegie Mellon. The Open Learning Initiative, formed in 2001, was formed to answer the question of whether material could be taught in a digital environment with the same or better results maybe than a traditional classroom for a lower cost, presumably because it was a digital environment. And as you may have guessed, the answer is a resounding yes. You can find the evidence page on our website. Will hold a lot of good information regarding our usage and our independent studies findings. I encourage you to visit there after we've finished up the webinar. So Acrobatiq, having spawned from the Open Learning Initiative, is a representation of the convergence of these three historical strong points at CMU, those being cognitive science, human-computer interaction, and cutting-edge technology and development. Now, all of these three things, these strong points, were brought together to bear on the question of the digital learning environment at CMU in the Open Learning Initiative project. And we are now charged with the scalability and sustainability of the practical application of the results of that research study. And so now that we're in our digital revolution and we've determined that we can find ways to glean better results in a digital environment in some ways than in a traditional classroom, we need to find ways of bringing together everything that we've learned so that we can benefit students and instructors, as best as we can. And our answer to that problem is intelligent courseware. Intelligent courseware, in our view, should be looked at as a textbook replacement, but not a faculty replacement. It's important for you to understand that we don't intend robot learning as the end here, but rather complementary tools in the toolbox of an instructor to make you more effective and to make your students better learners, and hopefully in less time, with less effort, and for less money. So as an all-in-one textbook replacement, we need to investigate what that means. Like a textbook, our intelligent courseware has things like expository text and media, of course. But unlike a textbook, you're going to find adaptive practice and graded activities, a grade book where all the students' progress is recorded, a learning dashboard, which is where all the measurement of their learning, we're not talking about right and wrong answers, we're talking about actual measured learning is visualized with certainty, and myriad other tools and features that you can't get from a traditional textbook. You can only find in an online digital environment. And so what you end up with is all of these features for a lower cost than a typical textbook. You get much more than just a textbook for less cost. In the end, it measurably improves learning, our approach. It complements the instructor, and it saves time. Another important thing to understand is that we're not trying to sell you on better content. Our content is world class, but it isn't just content. It's about the results your students see. It's about improvement in learning, and about the fact that this approach actually works better. This isn't just a newer, better textbook. This is the science of learning put into practice to improve outcomes. Other online tools you may have encountered, they'll take a deductive approach to their materials. They'll digitize a textbook, and then they'll measure certain engagement data, how long students participated in certain areas, whether they whether they performed this task or that task, how well they may have done on a 25 question quiz. And what they'll do is they'll model their idea of the best student, and then compare other students compare other student behaviors to that behavior, and try to predict in a deductive way what is successful. Whereas at Acrobatiq, what we've done is we've taken an inductive approach, where we take from the beginning what we know about cognitive science and what we know about the ways that students learn best. And we take intentional measurement techniques and we bake those into the course in the interactive exercises, so that the interaction that students have with the course can actually measure, because we understand how learning happens. It can actually measure their learning and then display it to you, so that you have a true idea of what your students know. We start based on this foundation, the course design triangle, where we start with student-centered measurable learning objectives. And the courses are built around these learning objectives. Each one of them is designed to be measurable through the demonstration of knowledge or skills that the student has obtained, and the demonstration comes through the practice exercises and ultimately the graded exercises. We incorporate world-class content and practice exercises, and the triangle is finished off with the assessments that I mentioned. So, adaptivities. These are where most of the learning is actually enacted in the course. This is where students will practice with what they have learned. Here we have a learn by doing. There are hundreds of these throughout every course. And in this one, in the psych course, the student is asked to check the lengths of these lines in the Mueller-Lyer illusion, and then act on what they have learned by following the instructions here. And you'll see that there is targeted feedback. When they choose a wrong answer, they will get feedback that is designed by the learning engineers and the subject matter experts to play on the common misconceptions and to address them. And so you, as a faculty member, understand that when a student says that the line on the top figure should be shorter than the bottom figure, that's wrong for a particular reason. You understand the misconception that the student has. And we have taken that understanding and baked it into the targeted feedback, so that when a student is interacting with the exercise, the student gets that feedback, that expert feedback, right away. There's no just reading about it and hoping that you understand. Here we have the feedback coming to the student immediately, hints to help guide the student in the right direction. All of this aids in the metacognitive processes for the student, so that the student can take an active role in understanding how much he or she understands. And in this way, all of these converge to enable an adaptation. I'm sorry. The exercises can adapt to the student's level of need, because they can decide how much help they need. They can continue in the exercise or they can move on. when they feel that they have grasped the concept finally. So all of the actual learning that takes place in these exercises and in the graded exercises as well is reported in the learning dashboard. There's a learning model underlying all of this that measures the learning based on the student's interaction, whether they got it right the first time, whether they got it right the second time, the cumulative effect of all of the right and wrong answers that they have gotten on a particular skill or concept over all of the exercises that measure that skill. And all of these measurements are visualized here. There's much more in-depth information than what's displayed here, but this is the basic snapshot. Green bars indicate high estimated learning for the entire class. So you can see here how much of your class is exhibiting a clear understanding of each of these learning objectives, or the ability to demonstrate knowledge. Yellow is moderate, red is low, and gray indicates that not enough data has been collected to make a suitable prediction yet. Now, in the learning dashboard, there's much. You can dive much deeper than this. You'll see the show details link here. When you expand that, you get to see all of the exercises and first the sub objectives of the learning objectives and the skills involved, and then all of the exercises that the student interacts with that measure the student's understanding or demonstration of that knowledge or skill. You can also see which students in particular are in each of these color bands, which students are in the red, the yellow, and the gray, and you can contact them either individually or as a group. So the psychology courseware in particular, it's an introduction to psychology, so it covers all the essential topics, and it's designed with an emphasis on scientific methods and research. Here you can see all the, I'm sorry, that should say the topic highlights. Here are all the topic highlights. You can investigate or explore the syllabus and see for yourself all of the unit and module topics. But as you can see here, all of the what you would expect to be in an introduction to psychology course is included. There are lots of other features. It isn't just learn by doings and did I get this activities along with checkpoints and quizzes. We have video segments where the students will learn. They're highly engaging. We have lots of case studies and scenario-based activities where students will unpack landmark studies, for instance, and make predictions that based on the small amount of information that they're given at the beginning, and then you can compare it to what the actual results were. They can take on the role of a psychologist in an exercise. These are just examples of the kinds of interactive measures that a student will encounter. And then we have one checkpoint per module totaling 59. Each one of these reports to the gradebook and the learning dashboard, just like all of the practice exercises, and help give you a real view of how much your students know and how much they don't. In the end, all of these tools together help save you a lot of time compared to just a textbook where you can't really record what your students are doing or what they are learning. Beyond the prep time that's saved by this being an all-in-one solution, and you no longer needing to collect a textbook and online resources that are spread all over the internet and have to be disseminated to the students, and handouts and all of these pieces that faculty typically bring together to make a single course. This is intended to be one resource that can serve all your needs. The adaptivities act like a virtual tutor, and the tutor stands over your student's shoulder, whispers in his or her ear when they get it wrong, why they might have gotten it wrong, not necessarily just blurting out the answer, but guiding the student's self-discovery processes. And not just that, not just being the expert in the room with your student, but actually reporting back to you how the student is doing, what the student understands, not just what the student did, not just whether the student read chapter 3 and then did the homework, but whether the student understood things, whether the student was able to exhibit a change in knowledge state. Automatic grading speaks for itself. And when you take a look at the snapshots in the learning dashboard, what that affords you is the ability to know where the students are failing and where they are succeeding. So that, for instance, if you're going to spend week 3 talking about 6 different concepts, you can take a look at the learning dashboard, find where they are struggling, and start honing in right on the places where they have the most difficulty. Saves you a lot of time when you don't have to cover stuff that they already understand. It also gives you the chance to maybe free up some time to talk about things that you personally enjoy more, and you know you don't necessarily get to touch on when you have to talk about every single concept. But now you understand which things you can skip because the students already understand them. So that's it in a nutshell. You can sign up for preview access if you don't already have it at acrobatiq.com. We have a Courseware sign up link there, and you can email me at info@acrobatiq.com. And we're going to go ahead and open up questions. I'd love to hear what you folks think about this. I'm going to go ahead and read the questions out loud because the recording doesn't show the questions, and I want there to be a record of them. Are we going to expand to history and systems or other psychology classes? At the moment, we are not working on expanding this course. We are going to add the DSM-5 materials, which don't yet, which aren't yet in the course, but there are no plans yet to expand the content either into other courses or to add to this one. Well, the next question is, any idea how this might scale to a 500 student course section? Yes, we do. The idea is to take a lot of the load off of the instructor and the TAs with the automatic grading and the tutoring that's afforded through the adaptivities. The gradebook and the learning dashboard take into account the large section size and will make their calculations based on that information. And you'll be able to you can break them into sections. You can keep them all in a single section. We have the ability to do that for you. But the tools that we've designed are meant to help you get a snapshot of the entire class's group understanding and misconceptions, so that if you have 500 students in a class, you can really see where the biggest effect can be put into practice. Where you can really affect their learning. You can check the concepts that they don't understand and then talk to those, because you're never going to have time to poll your students individually and find out where they're struggling. And it's always, we hear a lot from instructors that the greatest difficulty they have is learning what the students know after the exams. That's when you get your insights into where they're struggling and where they're not. And the learning dashboard allows you to see that based on the readings that you give, the exercises that you assign during the week, so that if you assign module 3, 4, and 5, you can go ahead and before the lecture check their understanding and tweak your lecture based on where they're struggling. Hope that answers your question. As for the large sizes, that's not in a digital environment, that's not a problem. DSM-5 will be available with the release of the course in January. It'll actually be earlier than that, but it's going to be made available for use. You'll be able to build your own psychology instance in December for use in the spring. The content is customizable in that you can rearrange it right now, but that is all that we can add from the course. You can also remove content from the course, but what we're really excited about is building new tools that allow instructors to add their own their own exposition, their own media. For instance, you could record an explanatory um, video and host it on YouTube and then plug it into the text. These things are coming in the fall. There are going to be lots of opportunities for instructors to be able to change the material and then have it report to the learning dashboard. The reason we didn't have these tools at the Open Learning Initiative is because the intentional design of the course requires that adding material be built on our on our foundation so that it will report to the dashboard. But we're going to build tools that allow instructors to go through that process and write their own targeted feedback, for instance, and report to the dashboard. So we're really excited about that. That's coming in the fall. This integrates with your LMS as long as it is LTI compliant, which most are. We can speak with your LMS sysadmin, and then what this enables you to do is offer single sign-on for your students. So you will build a course as an instructor. You build your own instance. That process involves uh, assigning a course key, which is a unique identifier for your course. Most instructors make it an indicator of what the course is, like Psych 101 for Thursday 1 p.m. that kind of thing, and then you'll be able to use that course key to link your course to your Blackboard class environment, and then any student who is enrolled in your class will see the link, and when they click on it, they are automatically sent to your Acrobatiq course environment. There's no need for them to create any accounts, remember any passwords, register for any courses. Just being in the LMS is the permission itself. How might I port this into my online class using Canvas or Blackboard? Looks like we just answered that. So the way it works, the actual process is to get your LMS administrator involved so that they can add Acrobatiq as an LTI external tool provider, and then once Acrobatiq is an external tool provider at your school, any instructor can uh, add Acrobatiq courses to their class environments. So great questions. Any more? That seems to be the last one in the queue at the moment. One of the great things I wanted to touch on is actually my purview. It's customer support. Uh, this for faculty who adopt Acrobatiq, we're going to offer a white glove concierge service so that anything you ask for, we will help enact. So if you email me directly and say, Hal, I need you to build a course that just has all the modules and units. I need it to be in this order in particular, and I need it ready for January 1st. I'm going to go build that for you. And if you need it in your LMS, I'll coordinate that with your LMS administrator. If you find that there's an answer on a checkpoint that you disagree with, and you want every student in the class to get credit for it, you write to me and you say, "Look, this is too much work for me to go in and change the records for this checkpoint question. I want everybody to get credit for it, and I'm going to make sure that that happens for you." This is something that we're proud to offer to Acrobatiq users starting in January. Another exciting addition is that we are going to. I'll get to a few more questions came in. I'll get to those in a moment. One other thing is that the courses are going to be very mobile friendly because we're removing all of the Flash elements so that they will play well with iPads and tablets, which is something that OLI courses were not able to to claim, and that's because they were built starting about 10 years ago using Flash technology, which was cutting edge then, and today is a dinosaur. So we are removing the Flash and moving to all HTML for much better play on mobile. The pricing is $99 per student. That's the list price, and it's designed to be far less than any textbook plus supplemental materials that you guys would assign your students. Will Students will be able to pay for the materials on our website. We'll be we'll be accepting credit cards and PayPal payments, and if it's necessary, we can arrange with your bookstore to allow students to pay there with financial aid. That tends to tack on an upcharge, though, so be aware of that. Most bookstores will not offer just facilitate the sale. They will usually tack on somewhere between 15 and 30, actually almost 40%. Any other questions, folks? All right. Looks like, here we go. How can the course be paced to fit in an 8-week session? Well, that's one of the things that we really love about the courseware is that it can be self-paced. What you can do is you can simply remove all of the timing constraints and allow students to move forward at their own pace. Um, the 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 learning research and the technology converge to enable what we feel is the most effective use of time for the student. And so um, if you want to cram this into an 8-week course, which we have had instructors do with success, it simply can be, that timing model can simply just be applied because the material is efficient enough for students to learn, to learn it with great, you know, with great results in just 8 weeks. It is designed for a typical 13 to 14 week semester, but if you want to accelerate the timing, that's perfectly fine and up to you. You do have the ability to open and close all materials with a schedule. And so if you'd like to actually schedule those things, this might be a place where the customer support would come in handy for you. We could apply that for you. So thank you all for coming. I really appreciate you joining us. Thank you for the questions. They were excellent. They're going to really serve the people well who download this webinar afterward because they weren't able to attend. There are a handful of folks who weren't able to join us today, as is common, but this was a really great session. I really appreciate this very much. Thank you so much. So we're going to go ahead and I'll wait another moment and see if anything comes through. Thank you all. Um, so I'll wait a few more seconds and then we'll drop off if no more questions come through. You guys will all receive follow-up emails with the link to the recording of this webinar, along with the slide deck itself, and some other resources that pertain to Acrobatiq courseware. That'll probably come through on Monday because it takes some time to assemble those things after the webinar. All right, folks. Thanks again for coming. It was a great pleasure to be here with you. Thank you for the great questions and for sharing your time with us. Take care. Have a good weekend, everybody.